Vapi just raised $50 million, and the first thing they did was rip apart the dashboard. Here's everything that changed. But before we actually get into the dashboard, look at this. This is the blog post of the Series B they just raised, $15 million, led by Peak XV. Vapi did 1 billion calls. They are now powering businesses like Amazon Ring, as you can see here, Intuit, Service Titan. They are not a small lab anymore. And the second you land on this website, you actually can feel it. It's cleaner, it's less techy, it's less developer first. This used to look like a tool built for builders, by builders, but now it more looks like something you would pitch to a head of operations. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It just means that Vapi is going more after enterprise now. And not so much after the indie hacker sitting in their bedroom building agents. And that's not what this video is about though. The branding is only the surface. The real story is what they did inside the platform. Because if you logged in within the last week, the agent builder just looks completely different. New pages, new structure, stuff moved around. So whether you're brand new to Vapi or you've been building on it for months, I'm going to walk you through the new dashboard, where everything lives now, what changed and what you need to know. So let's get into it. First of all, this is where you will land if you log into Vapi right now. This is the composer. You probably know it already. And this actually didn't really change. Quick fun fact, Vapi actually said this is powered by Claude, just if you're interested. But again, what this video is about is actually the new agent builder. So if we go into here, you can actually see that it changed quite a bit already. You still have the name in the top left, you still have the agent ID in the top left, but now you have different pages as a navigation here. And you can also see this small banner that if you want to use the old agent builder, you can actually just go to these 3 dots here and then revert to old layout. If you don't feel comfortable with this new thing, you can use the old one. It's up to you. I actually quite like the new one. It's cleaner, it's less cluttered, and I feel like you just have a better sense of where everything lives. Let's actually just go ahead and close these things in and zoom in a bit. That's a bit too much. Let me just go out one more. We will start on the Assistant tab and close this out. This is very similar to the just actual structure you landed on before. You have the average cost per minute in cents here, and you have the average latency, where if you hover over these bars, you can see exactly where the cost or the latency is coming from. And something that changed is that you now have the transcriber, the model, and the voice directly below this. And you can actually just click into this and then you can change it. It opens a sidebar where you then can select the new provider depending on what you want to go with. I quite like DeepGram. You can use 11 labs, you can use Google, you can use whatever you want, really. I just go with 11 labs in this case. Then you can select the language. It's straightforward from now. You select the model. I often use Nova 2. You can also use Flux or Nova 3, whatever. Doesn't really matter too much. This is not a tutorial on how to build an agent, but how to navigate the agent builder. And then you have additional settings here. You have background denoising. You can turn this on. I would actually recommend you turn this on. Use numerals, profanity filter, confidence threshold. All these things that you in the past dashboard could set on the transcriber, which was below the system prompt actually. Something you can just set on here. Also smart endpointing. That's what we want to go with LiveKit actually. And also a transcriber fallback. This is important if you have actually an agent in production. You always want to have a fallback for the transcriber, for the model, and for the voice too. So we will actually do this, and we will add a new fallback provider. In this case, we will obviously want to go with something different, because if we have the same company and they have an outage across all the systems, then it doesn't make sense to have a fallback model from the same company, because that would be down too, and then the fallback wouldn't do anything. That's why we want to, for example, go with Assembly AI and then use the multilingual or English or whatever. And then you could do some additional configurations to this specific model too. I will just leave it at that, just to have shown you that you can actually add a fallback transcriber here. Next thing we have is the model. Again, this is the same thing you had in the previous layout version right below the system prompt here. You can select the provider, OpenAI, and in this case we maybe want to go with GPT-4o, if I can find it, GPT-4o here, and then we will have a bit more latency, but 4o is an amazing model for voice AI, and in the next tab, we can configure the voice. Again, just click on it and then the sidebar will open. You can choose from the provider from the drop down right here. You can use Vapi voices, you can use 11 Labs. I like to use Cartesia. They have solid voices, and this is a custom voice ID I found from the Cartesia playground. So if you want to, find and discover new voices, then just go to the Cartesia playground, and the same is true for stuff like 11 Labs or Rhyme AI. Just go to their website and play around with the voices there, and then you can copy the voice ID, and then if you select a Cartesia and you want to have this specific voice ID, you don't select from the drop-down menu here where you have the pre-imported voices, but rather you would go to to custom voice ID and then paste the voice ID there, and then you have it in the agent. You still need the voice model. I love Sonic 3. It's really good, especially in these more human sounding things, in these non-verbal expressions, like for example laughing, in different things. Amazing model. Go and try it out, and let me know in the comments down below what you think about it. You can control speed here and volume depending on the voice you chose up here. If it's a more slower voice, you can increase the speed, and the same is true for the opposite. And you can add or remove background sounds here, and also same as for the transcriber, add a fallback voice here. In this case, maybe we want to go with a Vapi voice, and in the Vapi voice we want to use, let's just take, I don't know, Leo. Haven't tried it, don't know if he's good. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know. And I reckon these are actually the most important settings for getting a voice agent demo started, with having a reliable and accurate transcriber, having a good quality but also fast model, and having a realistic sounding text-to-speech model as the voice here, and they are right here in the dashboard, easy to access and easy to change. And the thing below it is the first message. What we change here is either if the assistant speaks first, if the assistant waits for the user to speak first, or if the assistant speaks first with a model-generated message. This might be relevant because normally if you pick up the phone, if you are being called, the other person that is calling you is not actually the one speaking first, because you pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Tim. And then you wait for them to respond and introduce themselves. So this, what you select here kind of depends on your use case, if you are using outbound calls or if you're doing inbound calls. And then the first message is then what the agent will say. So for example, if I'm doing, or if I'm making an agent for inbound calls, I want the agent maybe to pick up the phone and say, hey, this is Tim from Eximus. I'm your digital assistant. What can I help you with? And then this is the exact first sentence, which will be said every single time. If you select model generated message, then you can specify in the system prompt what you want the agent to have, to say in the first message, and then they will generate something on the fly and tell that to the user. And that brings us to also one of the core things within an agent, something that's often never fully finished and never fully done, but more a work in progress thing, which is the system prompt. The system prompt are the exact instructions which your agent performs on. It tells the agent who they are, on which behalf they are acting on, what their task is, how they speak, what they should speak. If you want to have more details on this, I have a few videos probably up here somewhere which go into more detail on the system prompt. I also have a custom GPT, which is trained specifically for building voice AI prompts. I will link it in the description down below. It's in my resource hub. You can get it for free there. It's a Vapi engineer said it's amazing, and it has over 200 active chats. So it's solid, I would say. Go ahead and try it out. And below the system prompt, we have files. So if you want the agent to have a knowledge base, if you want to have them have like explicit knowledge about a specific topic, then you could upload files. You wouldn't upload the files directly here. I mean, you can add a file here, but you can also add it from the sidebar. If you open it up here, resources, and then you have files right here. This is not the topic of this video though. If you have something uploaded, you can just select it here, and then this is being added to the knowledge of the agent. And that's it with the first page of the assistant. Let's just go ahead and publish the agent and go on to the next one. And this is something I'm really happy about, which is the logs page. This page lets me see the logs of this specific agent on the agent page. So previously, in order to see any call logs, I had to go to the sidebar and then go to observe logs, and here I could then see the logs of every single agent, and I could filter about like time range, call ID, and then also like which assistant was used to make the call. But it would be always on this explicit logs page, and now I can just access this from the page within the agent. And yes, this is only limited to this specific agent. So I won't get any call logs from a different agent. But if I want to work on only this agent, it's a very nice change. I don't have to click like 3 times or 4 times in order to get to the logs, but I can just switch the tab over here, listen to the log directly, which is a really nice change. I really love this. GG's Vapi, very good. And I mean, I don't have any call logs right here. It works the same way as it did previously. I don't think there's too much to explain here. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comments down below, and I will do my best to answer them. On to the next page, which is the tools page. The tools page is very simple. There's not really much to do here, except selecting the tools that the agent then has access to. The way it works in Vapi is you create tools. Again, this is from the sidebar. You can create tools. So if you click create tool, then you will be able to do stuff like, for example, checking a slot in the calendar or booking a appointment in the calendar. And these tools exist globally on this account. And if you then go to the assistant, you can select this tool and assign this tool to this specific assistant. The good thing is, if you have multiple assistants that have access to the same tool, you don't have to create the tool over and over again, once for each agent, but you can just go to this drop down and, I don't know, like select Austin radius check tool for this agent, and then he has it. And I could do the same on 3 other agents, doesn't really matter. That's like the whole functionality of this page. You just have the drop down menu with all the tools you have created. And if you click them, they're being assigned to this agent. And if you unclick them, they are being removed. As simple as that. Next up, we have the analysis page. The analysis page is the single most important thing for data extraction from your actual calls, because here you can specify which information will be extracted after the call and what the system watches out for, during execution of those calls. This might sound a bit abstract, but in the past history, as you can see, you had summary. So after each call, a summary has been generated. You can specify like a prompt here to build the summary, what the AI should listen for in the summary, what it should say. However, this is being deprecated. That's why I wouldn't use it anymore. The same is true for the success evaluation and the structured data. The structured data is, for example, how you could extract if an appointment was booked, when the exact date of this appointment is from the call logs. So basically the call finishes, it outputs a transcript, and based on the transcript, an AI would analyze it. And in the structured data, you would basically tell the AI which data points to analyze the transcript for. Now, again, these are deprecated, and the way you do it now is through structured outputs and scorecards. In this case here, this is the structured output. So you would add an structured output here. It again opens a sidebar, and you have two modes here. You have AI extraction. So that's what I just said. The AI basically gets the transcript and then analyzes the transcript for the specific information you want to extract. Or you have regex extraction, which is, as the line says down here, best for extract patterns like order IDs, phone numbers, and confirmation codes, or fixed text format. So if you have a transcript, and if, I don't know, like a phone number is being set, the phone number always has the same format, which is, for example, the E164 format, which is the international standard, basically. You can just run the regex extraction for this, and then the phone numbers being extracted perfectly fine. However, in most cases, I would usually go with the AI extraction, because sometimes it's a bit tricky to get the exact regex extraction going. However, in most cases, I would just go with the AI extraction. For you, it's probably easier to extract. Just note that AI is not deterministic, so it can make mistakes at times. The way it works is you give it a name. So, for example, appointment time, you give it a description. So you describe the purpose of this structured output. This doesn't really do anything. It's just for you to know what it does. And then you basically define what the field to extract is. You define the data format. So if it's true or false, just a single text value, a number, a integer, a array, or multiple fields. In this case, we would just use a string, and then we describe the data format that we want to have. And this is important because this is basically the prompt to the AI, what the AI needs to look for. So this needs to be specific. This needs to be correct. And then if you want to, you can add allowed values. This only really makes sense if you have enum values. So if you have one of a few values and it can't be anything different, in most cases you would just leave this blank, and you can specify a bit more stuff here, minimum length, maximum length, and then a few advanced options down here. Example output, this does actually make sense. And then in the very bottom you can actually assign this structured output to an assistant or to a workflow, because again, it's the same as with tools here. You create this structured output globally on the account, and then you assign the structured output to an agent. So for example, if we have multiple appointment booking agents and you want to extract the appointment date from the transcripts, you only have to create this structured output once and then assign it to all agents. And then you don't have to do it for every single agent themselves, and you save work and time, which is amazing. You have a few advanced settings here. You can choose the model you want to use, temperature, max tokens, choose whatever you want here, really. And then you have a test. So if you have made a test call in the past, you can select a recent call here and then basically run the extraction once and just see what output would come through, and then adjust in real time basically how you want the extraction to happen. If it's not accurate, then adjust the prompt maybe, stuff like that. Really simple. But for now, that's enough, and we will continue to attached monitors. Attached monitors is basically a tool to oversee performance of your agent calls across multiple categories. So this is more on the technical side. This is more on the error fixing side. Best case, you don't need any of these, because best case your agent works, but realistically that's not really how it works in production. So you want to have certain test monitors set up in order to basically catch any failures. And the way it works is fairly similar to structured outputs. You can actually just go into this or add a monitor and then go into one of the existing ones. For example, transcriber request failed. So basically if the voice of the user comes in, but then the transcriber, so what converts the voice from actually speech to text, doesn't answer, it fails. That's why we have a fallback transcriber. But like if it fails, you want to catch this error. And this is exactly what happens here. So assistants to monitor, all assistants. This is very useful, obviously. You can select a category in which this exists, and then you can select the issues you want to monitor. So this is just a few different things that can happen to the agent, and you can select it, and then you can add filters to this to specify this even further down and to make this even more accurate to the specific thing you want to measure. And then you basically have the escalation threshold, so you can define when this triggers a notification. For example, what the initial severity is. If it's just an information, warning, or critical, then when this is triggered. So in this case, if the call count is greater than 5, so if more of 5 calls are being found with this issue, then a notification is triggered. And then the frequency to check the calls is 1 hour, and it looks back 1 hour. So basically we have an hourly check, and it checks all the calls within this time frame to see if anything happened during this time frame. And we can send the notifications here. We can turn it on and then select a notifier. So we can either send an email, we can use it to send a Slack notification, or send it to a webhook. If we change anything here, we would just hit save. In this case we don't, and then we will go back to the assistants. And that's it with the analysis part, I think. And now we go to the advanced part. So the advanced part is where the heavy customization comes in. This is where you can optimize your agent. This is where you can do like the nitty gritty stuff. If you are a beginner, I would probably suggest you just play around with this. You need to check which settings affect what behavior from the agent, but I will just walk you through at a high level right now. Fallbacks. This is what we discussed earlier on the assistance page. So if you click into this and go down to the fallback here, it's the same setting, but just in a centralized place. So we have fallback voices and we have fallback transcriber right here. Same thing, don't need to go over it. If you change anything here, this will also be changed on this page. As you can see, assembly English. And if we go to advanced, we also have assembly English as the transcriber. So this basically carries over to the pages back and forth. Then we have compliance. Here you can set compliance for HIPAA and zero data retention. These are premium settings, so you basically need to pay for it extra. For most of you, this is not relevant. If it is, then I'm not a legal expert here, but definitely go and talk to Vapi or some legal expert that needs to, or that can tell you actually what this does and if it helps you. HIPAA is important for medical use cases, so if you're doing anything in that direction, definitely consider this. Next, webhook server. If you have an agent, you probably want to have some sort of system that gathers data about the calls. And how this usually works is you have the agent send API requests to a webhook. And this is exactly the server URL you can specify right here. So the most prominent example is always the end of call report. When the call finishes, then the analysis, which we set up in this page here, runs. So the transcript is being analyzed and certain data points are extracted, and then everything is compiled together in the end of call report, which is a huge JSON. And this is then being sent to your server. And in most cases for you guys, this is something like your N8N workflow or whatever, which then takes the call information and saves it, for example, into a Supabase database or a Google Sheet or something like that. And this is exactly what you specify here. So this is where your N8N webhook URL, for example, would go. And for production, you can also add an API key here for authentication. But like this is what it does. The start speaking plan is the plan for when the assistant should start talking. So this is the conversational turn taking in combination with the stop speaking plan. And those two define the behavior of the actual agent. You probably noticed that sometimes assistants take ages to start responding to a query, and sometimes they kind of barge in. And this is exactly your settings and start speaking plan and stop speaking plan. The start speaking plan defines when the agent starts speaking after you finished your utterance. So what happens here is basically the system evaluates in real time if I am finished with saying my whole sentence or not. And depending on the confidence it returns, it either starts speaking or it starts generating an answer or it doesn't. And that's what we define here. I would always suggest you use smart endpointing from LiveKit, and you can, use the wait function however you want to. I have made mine a bit more conservative, but just test around and find what's working for you. The wait seconds is something I would reduce a bit, maybe to 0.2, just to make it a bit more snappy. But also note, if you decrease the start speaking plan or make it more aggressive, there's also a risk of the agent barging in more often and interrupting the natural speech flow. So be careful with this, but just test out, play around, and find out what's working for you. For the agent, the stop speaking plan, this is important for when the agent says something and I interrupt the agent. When does the agent actually stop speaking? In this case, there's not the necessity for me to actually finish a whole word, but when the agent detects that I'm speaking for more than 0.2 seconds, then the agent will stop generating the answer or stop actually outputting the answer and let me finish my sentence. Then we have the back off seconds here, which is the seconds to wait before the assistant starts talking again after being interrupted. I think that's fairly straightforward actually. Next up, we have voicemail detection. Always turn voicemail detection on. In this case, maybe we should actually go with Vapi because it's the recommended one. Yes, they probably want to push their own stuff, but I mean, they are fairly good. And then you have a few settings here. For example, the delay before the first detection check, the detection retry interval, the max detection retries, and then max voicemail message wait. There are just a few settings you can play around with. I think the descriptions are fairly accurate. You do you. Again, test out, see what works for you, and it's just testing here, guys. Next up, we have the call timeout settings. These are important because what you kind of don't want to happen is if the user doesn't say anything for an extended period of time, the call should end. Because what you don't want is that, for example, in a hypothetical scenario, the user puts their phone away because something came up, whatever that might be, and then the call is just going on and it's going on and on for 15 minutes, and then you spend your Vapi credits for 15 minutes, but the call isn't actually going anywhere. So that's what you want to define with the silence timeout. These are the seconds until the call will be ended due to inactivity. And then this is also the maximum duration. So a max duration in seconds of how long the call can actually last. In this case, these are 10 minutes. Depending on your call scenario, you will know best how long you can put this. And also the same is for the silence timeout. For example, if you have something where the user needs to go and check their emails, you might want to put this a bit higher because they might not be able to do it in 30 seconds. But yeah, again, your call scenario and you can think about your correct values here. Then we have keypad input settings. Configure whether a user can input digits via the keyboard and when to process the input. I actually haven't used this at all. If you want to use it, you can. I think most of you guys won't. And I will not really cover this right now. Next up, we have recording an artifact. This is the settings of if we want to record the audio, if we want to log the call, if we want to enable transcripts, and if we record audio, then in which audio format. And we could theoretically also record video. This is not really relevant for most of us because most of us will just use regular phone calls. Audio recording, if you are allowed to do it, always check your compliance, your local compliance. I would always record audio, always log the call, and always enable transcripts. And for audio recording format, I would always go with MP3 just because it's a bit more compressed. So the file size are way smaller. So if you are running an external service where you store the data yourself, for example, Supabase, you don't really want to have it cluttered by thousands of by thousands of WAV files, which are extremely large, but rather MP3. Next up, we have messaging. These are actually the messages which the agents are sending back and forth from and to the server, but also the client. For us, the important things are the server messages, because this is what is actually being sent to our server. In the case I told you guys above in the video, or earlier in this video, is the N8N workflow. And the big thing here is the end of call report. If we don't have this checked, then the end of call report will not be sent to the server, and therefore we won't have the after call information. So make sure this is checked. I mean, the rest of the messages is something you can actually see for yourself if you need that. I would actually defer you to the Vapi documentation in order to read up all the other server messages, but just make sure that the end of call report is selected and that that's active. You can also hard code a voicemail message that, if a voicemail is being detected, is being set to the voicemail before the agent hangs up. And then the same is true for the end call message. So if the agent decides that it now will end the call, then you can put a message here which will be sent directly before that. Or you can have multiple end of call phrases that, you know, are just being more variable than. Earlier, we covered how long the agent will actually wait until it ends the call due to inactivity. But during this, we can actually select idle messages. And this is something that the agent will say if they detect no speech, in this case, for 7.5 seconds. So if nothing happens for 7.5 seconds, the agent will say one of those 3 phrases in order to prompt the user to answer back to them to show that they are not inactive. And we can also set the max idle message amount. So if the agent, in these 30 seconds will say 3 idle messages in a time span of 7.5 seconds each between the messages, and then if nothing is returned, the call will be ended. And you can adjust this. You can make this number larger. You can make this number larger too, or smaller, however you like it. Just again, this depends on your specific use case, and you will know best how to handle this. And then last but not least, we have the deprecated part here. This has a few deprecated things we won't really cover. Something I just noticed is that the end call function is in here. Before we had to enable it here. What we do now is we don't enable it in here, but rather we would go to functions, to tools, and create an end call tool right here. And then we would assign the end call tool here to the assistant, and then save the assistant to, then actually have the agent hang up the phone if it needs to, which it should. And honestly, that was it. That was the whole walkthrough through the new agent builder. Again, if you want to revert to the old layout, you can do here. But my personal opinion is I quite like the new layout, and I want to know from you guys. Do you like the new layout? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. And honestly, I feel like it's amazing to see Vapi grow this much. It's amazing to see them collecting $50 million in Series B funding, which just goes to show that voice AI is the future bet. And I think Vapi will, they will be around. They will be a big player in the time coming. And I think it will be worth building on Vapi, continuing to stick to Vapi. They will evolve, they will get better as technology gets better, and therefore our voice agents will also get better. And that's it with the video for today. If you liked it, definitely leave a like and subscribe to this channel for future videos. The next one I'm going to make is 10 tips for improving your voice agent prompts, one of the most important parts of the voice agent. So definitely stay tuned for this, sub to this channel to not miss it. And if you want to, you can also turn on the bell to get the notification right away when I uploaded the video. If you have any questions, again, feel free to comment them down below, or also maybe future videos you would like to see on this channel. And if you are a business owner, actually from a service business, and you are thinking about implementing voice AI into your work, for example, for speed to lead, to have voice agents answer to your client inquiries within 30 seconds, or for example, reactivating your old database of thousands and thousands of contacts completely on autopilot every 90 days, definitely book a call with me down below. I can help you with that. And with that, I would like to close this video off today, and I'm going to see you in the next one. Cheers.